Hello, I'm Dan Aykroyd. It's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be able to introduce to you this film, Evidence, the Case for NASA UFOs. As the goal of the UFO movement since Roswell in 1947 has been to expose the government's knowledge of the UFO phenomena and the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence, this may be the most compelling, shocking, and powerful case presented at the dawn of the age of the new millennium, to expose the hidden secrecy behind UFOs and the government's knowledge of them. This postulation now is not based on the anecdotes, film, video, and data previously assembled, but rather on the United States government's own NASA footage, photographed by the astronauts themselves on numerous space shuttle missions. Broadcast live to Earth during the 1990s, it is also based on deep investigational written correspondence between the author of this film and some of NASA's research scientists. After seeing this film, you will undoubtedly conclude, as I did, that the volume and quality of the evidence is irrefutable and undeniable. Further, this evidence prepares us for perhaps the most vital revelation, which will be revealed to us in the new millennium. And that is that we are far from alone in this multiverse we inhabit, and that there is at least one species of extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial entity that is interested in our own well-being and survival in a most profound and positive and life-affirming way. Finally, it provides empirical, ancient archaeological evidence that there is someone out there, a species, a race of beings who are very interested in our progress on Earth, and perhaps in a benevolent and life-affirming way. You will see that in this film, the evidence is compelling, it's genuine, it's authentic, and it gives us hope. Thank you. Here, now, Evidence, the Case for NASA UFOs.
A deep, 6-year scientific investigation into unidentified flying object phenomena, broadcast live by NASA throughout the 1990s space shuttle missions.
According to NASA's Space Act, signed on July 29, 1958, Section 102, Paragraph C, Subparagraph A, we read, information obtained or developed by the administrator in the performance of his functions under this Act shall be available for public inspection, except information authorized or required by federal statute to be withheld and information classified to protect the national security. Would NASA consider contact with an extraterrestrial civilization a threat to national security? And if they did, would they classify it to protect the national security?
That's what this investigation is about. We're probing deep inside of NASA, looking for answers into what may be UFOs appearing during space shuttle missions and trying to find out an answer, because we know that they wouldn't come out and tell us. They would classify to protect the national security. evidence the case for NASA's UFOs. Hi, my name is David Sereda. Throughout the 1990s, a program manager of a cable TV station named Martin Stubbs recorded over 400 hours of live NASA broadcasts. During these broadcasts, there were many scenes of what appeared to be UFOs. In about 1997, a photographer friend of mine named Mike Boyle, who knew Martin Stubbs and knew about the footage, approached me and asked me to conduct an investigation into the scientific community. What you're about to see may be the most powerful case yet to prove that we have actually made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization.
Recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain to you. But there is nothing hidden which will not become manifest. Jesus, Gospel of Thomas.
In 1989, I got into a long conversation about nuclear fusion with NASA's head of propulsion, power, and energy, Dr. Earl Van Landingham. At the end of the conversation, I decided to take a risk and ask him, has NASA ever made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization? Had they ever seen any UFOs on their space shuttle missions? He answered no, and he said, when you consider the distances between our solar system and our nearest stars, Alpha Centauri A and B, 4.3 light years from Earth. Sirius is 8.7 light years from Earth. That means that when a spacecraft is doing the speed of light, it takes 8.7 years in constant space travel. Not stopping for donuts and coffee, not stopping to use the bathroom, just constant space travel to get to Earth in 8.7 years. Alpha Centauri would take 4.3 years to get here. That's an incredibly long period of time and a very deep commitment to going from one point in space to the other. And to acquire velocities that great, we need a tremendous amount of energy in the form of propulsion and to create the velocity that a spacecraft needs to get from that point to the other. When Earl Van Landingham took this into consideration, he said the energy signal, the actual energy coming off of the spacecraft would be so powerful. There's an enormous amount of energy required for a spacecraft to do anywhere near light speed. It would be so huge we would detect the signal well in advance of the arrival of the spacecraft. When we consider the speed of light, which is 186,282 miles per second, which comes to about 670 million miles per hour. And when we compare that to some of the propulsion systems we're using today, for example, the Apollo missions to the moon averaged just a little over 3,000 miles per hour. The space shuttle today maintains a speed of about 18,000 miles an hour as it orbits around the 25,000 mile circumference of the Earth every 90 minutes. And our fastest satellites today can do maybe 35,000 miles an hour. So when you compare tops 35,000 miles an hour to 670 million miles per hour, you can see that we're nowhere near the speed of light, and that's why we're very confined in our space travel at the current time. So, considering that an extraterrestrial civilization would have to be far more advanced than ours, they would have to have the energy, the tremendous amount of energy coming in the form of propulsion and giving their spacecraft velocity to get here. We should detect a signal of tremendous powerful energy. Where would we detect such a signal, and how would we detect it? So far, cameras and telescopes and other means of making detections, such as radar,